Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me are co-hosts Maceo Dill, Garrett Punchy Dill, and we are awaiting the return of Nikita Robinson, who will be joining us momentarily. But gentlemen, a total of 42 goals were scored over the weekend in Premier and First Division. But first, I want to get to last night where the Bermuda under-20 team defeated Barbados 3-2 in the qualifiers, the CONCACAF qualifiers, coming from behind down to 10 men. I just think that they showed a lot of character, a lot of will to win, and really dug deep and showed that fighting Bermuda spirit last night to come away with a 3-2 victory. Did any of you guys see the game?
I didn't see the game. I recognize of all the players that are in the team there.
Punchy, your thoughts?
I'm so glad you brought this subject up. I am so glad you brought it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna hurt some people's feelings. Now, the problem that I have with this whole situation is, sir, I'm gonna say it clear. Why would somebody be in charge of a national under-20 program? I'm glad for the result. Who hasn't ever coached at the senior program? I'm concerned about that. I've had this conversation before with people. They neglect to say anything about it. But
and that's Sequoia Robinson we're referring to?
Yes, I am. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna make it quite clear to you guys. I don't think that I think with the result against Barbados, yes, okay, Barbados 3-2. We were down 2-0. I'm a bit concerned about that, about who's in charge of those programs at the national level. Mm-hmm. And I think we should be much better than that 3-2 result against Barbados. But I'm concerned about the fact that who's in charge of these national programs. And I've said it to other people, but I think it's just inexperience there. That's my personal opinion, and I'm gonna say it. It's inexperience. I don't know. He hasn't, again, his qualifications for coaching at the national level is still questionable. So why has he got the job? And what I'm saying to you both is that's my opinion on that.
Fine, and listen, no one should ever knock anyone's opinion on how they feel about a situation, and you should be able to speak freely on the situation. I know, just like, and I'm pretty sure, Maceo, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I know there are some Premier Division teams who have unqualified coaches, but then have, what do they call them, mentors?
Mentors, yeah.
Right, they have mentors, and I know on this particular trip, I know Kyle is with the men. Kyle Lightbone is with that team, I guess, as the mentor. So I'm only surmising that they're using the same strategy that they're using for.
Yeah, they got Kyle Lightbone, Corey Hill, and Sequoia Robinson. You know, I don't know particularly what role that Corey Hill was playing. While he does have a B license, he's not worked with the national team, but he would be very familiar with this group of players because his son his son grew up in this era, so he could probably be somebody that can trigger these players because he knows them. You know, he's worked with them in the youth setup throughout his time coaching in Bermuda. But as it relates to the result, obviously the result's a good result. But it's an expectation we beat Barbados, right? So I want to, I was reserve comments into the objective of why we're down there as a team, right? And for me, I would hope that the objective of moving on from this phase is achieved, so we can get more international football for these players and coaches alike. So. I've been in this position enough times with Bermuda. We got a positive result, a result that we should do. We don't react right to that result, and then we go south. We go south. So I just want to make sure that the objective of being down there, and kudos to the boys, because I've always thought our players find the best that they can do in these circumstances. But I would always go back to let's be prone to make sure we're successful. You know, and for us not having a league in Bermuda all this time and them going on there. But again, kudos to a lot of those players that are in there are also overseas, and the overseas and programs end up in playing. You know, so it will just be interesting to see that if we achieve objective.
Well, not much time to dwell on what happened in that past game because they're back in action tomorrow. So,
and they're playing tomorrow's game is against who they play tomorrow?
St. Vincent,
it's
who
another one that we should be in, right?
Yeah.
Another one that as a country, Bermuda, we should be in.
The thing is with St. Vincent, they did not play their opening game because Puerto Rico, their opponents in their opening game, failed to have all their COVID paperwork in, so they lost the game by default. So a good result tomorrow, and pretty much we're on top of the group.
So we get to the next stage of it, yeah. So that's important that we get to the next stage of it, right? So that's definitely important that we get these boys some matches, right?
Definitely. Well, let's now turn our attention because we will be joined by coaches later on in the show. Let's turn our attention to the results over the weekend, and we'll start with last night's Premier Division match between Robin Hood and Southampton Rangers. Obviously, everyone knows it was 9-0 to Southampton to Robin Hood, leading 4-0 at the first half, and then 5 goals in the second half. Were you surprised, Maceo, by the final score?
Not at all. Not at all. And Robin Hood was a club culturally. If they get it right, they'll destroy you, right? You know, they're capable of destroying you, getting it right. You know, and I mean, it says a lot about where Rangers is, right? It says a lot about where Rangers is and where they're not. So it doesn't surprise me that they can take 9. You know, that doesn't surprise me that they're capable of taking 9. Unfortunately for Robin Hood, this is meaningless because it's not a measure of where they are. You know, this is not a measure of you know, as it relates to they should be competing at the high end. But it's a good response to losing. It's a good response to losing against THC, you know. So, but it's also very contradictory. When I use that language, it's like, you know, Robin Hood got a high against PHC last week, and not a high. You know, it's like where's the sustainability or the, you know.
Well, one thing's for sure. I mean, we're going to be joined by Southampton Rangers coach later on, and one of the questions that I really want to ask him is, you've played 180 minutes, you haven't scored a goal, you've given up now 11 goals. You know, how do you, 1, stop the bleeding, and 2, how do you find the back of the net? Because the only way to win a game is to score.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to figure that out. You can't go 3-4 games and not have a goal. You know, you're rooted at the bottom of the table, and then what's your plan to lift these players up after losing so heavily on Saturday night? So then today, out at Bernard Park, North Village defeated Crossroads 3-0. North Village was up 2-0 after like 8 minutes, a penalty and another goal. Punchy, just hearing that result, still the defending champions, undefeated this year. How do you think this is shaping up for North Village?
Well, my disappointment in that was that just how actuals have fallen from grace, if I use that terminology. I couldn't, you know, they were, you know, what was so disappointing to me is that what they were like 5 years ago compared to where they are now. And they didn't seem like they have a real plan. They were disorganized. The school could have really been, if North Village really put the pressure on what they should have done more. The school could have been like something 6 or 8.
Right.
Actually, had their chances. but they were very like not chances that they created. It was maybe by forced by a bare pass from a Norfolk defender or a Norfolk
Mm-hmm.
midfielder. But
Mm-hmm.
my concern about all this is that what we are now, and I think Mason and I have talked about this, come to a country where maybe the best 5 teams in the country are going to be dominating soccer here. And what I saw today with North Village, and North Village has changed quite a few players.
Right.
I brought some, uh, and they dominated the game. They had 75% of the game. They had
Mm-hmm.
75 possession of the game. What I did notice about North Village is they're still. I still don't think that they're not going to be title contenders. I don't know if they're going to be in the FA Cup. I can't, but I don't. They're still rebuilding. But
Mm-hmm.
what's most disappointing to me is their opposition. When you're playing against an opposition that's not organized, uh, it becomes like, well, it's a free. I just thought that nobody just had the leg. What I asked Kenny in the interview that I had with him is, what you gonna do when you play against better teams, considering the players that you have? And he gave me a way to go. He says, we might not get a result that we want, but what we're trying to improve upon is the development of the structure of the players. And I like that. I like what he had to say.
Mm-hmm.
But again, getting back to X words, very disappointing today. Very disappointing. Very.
Mm-hmm.
What they
Yeah.
were like and what they are now.
Right. Right. Coach Keita, I know you spent a little time at Bernard Park this afternoon. What did you think? And welcome back. What did you think of the match itself? Yeah. For some reason your audio is not on. No, we can't hear you. You may have to go out and come back in. Okay, all right. Let's jump over to obviously the PHC defeating Somerset Eagles 6-1. You know, and again, as we noticed last week, it's not just one person scoring. They had 5 different scores and an own goal this afternoon. So they've got an abundance of people scoring a goal in a game where in other teams one guy is doing the bulk of the scoring. So that's got to be a little worrying for anyone that they're going to go up against, because when you say, okay, if punch is the man for this team, I got to shot punch it on. But then you look over your right shoulder, look over your left shoulder, there's somebody else popping up to score a goal.
I would love to be the coach of PAT right now with the abundance of talent, experience, youth. They have every ingredient. They have every single ingredient to take this league by storm. And they even have an ingredient to play football well.
Mm.
And that will create an excitement for somebody like me to have those tools at your fingertips. And kudos to the PhD coaching staff, because they're pulling the strings in a very good way. They're pulling the strings in a very, very good way, and they can hammer some teams that they don't come right. I want to see when they get a test, like who can test them, who is organized enough that they can test PAT. And I don't think any other team in Bermuda is going to be organized enough that they can literally test PAT. I'll be disappointed if I'm PAT if they lose a game this year. That's how I mean, that would be a disappointment if they lose a game.
Right. Coach Keita, let's try that audio now.
Got mute on.
Yeah, you got to unmute. Yeah, unmute. No.
I mean, even I like, just as a sort of that I look at PAT, and I've been involved in the testing piece of the players, right? And I had a little chuckle, right? The power of this game. So you see all the players, coming to the testing center to be tested. You had Antoine Russell there that was a little bit intimidated by taking the nasal test, but he did it for football. He took it. He took that test for football. These guys are, I watched them sitting there complaining, "Why we got to do that?" But they did it. Football has that power, right? Football and sports have that power, and I was just laughing to myself, the power of it, right? And they're going to organize themselves for this game. They're going to organize themselves for this game. The players are going to organize themselves, and it's really exciting to have it back. And yeah.
And the last Premier Division match this weekend was St. George's drawing 2-2 at home with Devonshire Cougars. And we all know Devonshire Cougars is under new leadership in the coaching position, with Kwame Steve taking over that position from Mark Smith. First time out, getting a draw with St. George's, having to come from behind to get the draw too. Punchy, I know in the picks, you actually got this one right out of everybody. So the result, you can't be surprised by it.
No, I'm not surprised about that. I tell you, as I told you guys, I just think that St. George is getting more structured. So they will learn by the mistakes that they made last week, and they'll fix it this week. My concern is the Cougars. The turnover, Kwame is going back there because Kwame had a job. I spoke with Kwame, his job, and what he couldn't really put into Ton. So now they'll ask Kwame to come back. There's a bit of I've heard through the grapevine. There's a bit of problems out at Cougars now. So I thought when they played the first game that they won, against Benetton, I thought they should have won that game. But yeah, again, we're getting back to organization and structure. And again, Maceo was talking about the PAC structure, the better teams, better players. I think they're one of the better players in the country. And predominantly the better. They have a more, in terms of the amount of players that are better compared to North Village, compared to Somerset. So what will result be? Because it's a small country still. So what I'm saying to you is about Kwame comes to play for Kruger. He's coming to take on the Cougars. He will organize them. He will make them a little better. He needs a little bit of time, but I wasn't surprised by that. I think again, my thumbs up to St. George's, what they're trying to achieve down there, and that's a positive result for them. That's a good result for them. Yeah.
And let's quickly jump into the first division. Coach Keeler, let's try that. Still nothing. Yeah. Try it one more time. Go out and come back, and then let's see what happens. Okay. In the first division yesterday at Wellington Oval, Wolves drew 2-2 after scoring 2 early goals with Island Rangers, who scored 2 late goals. So Island Rangers are pulling off another surprise. So they won the first game. Now they got a point again in the second game.
What that tells us about Wolves? I mean, that tells the story, right? That tells the story. It's disappointing, but while it's not a surprise, regardless of what players that got down there, the organization is not there to be able to be consistent and to be able to move past talent.
Right.
To be able to organize talent. I can just imagine they probably got 5 different people and playing 5 different ways based on how they feel on the day.
Right.
And if they don't have a John Barry or somebody like that under to organize them, they're just a backyard team. They're just a backyard team, and that result shows today. And they met another backyard team in Island Rangers. Yeah. 2-2 is the result. Disappointing. Definitely disappointing for Wolves for the quality that the type of player that they have in their team.
No. I'm gonna bring Keita back in. Let's see if her audio is working now. Coach Keita?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Welcome.
I can't hear you.
Oh my gracious!
You can't hear us?
Put your headphones. You have headphones? If you have headphones,
I'll try. Let me grab some headphones and see what happens.
Okay. All right. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna be joined by the Southampton Rangers coach, Dwayne Streaker Adams. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than the certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
my inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. I'm still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Well, good evening, Mr. Adams. How are you? How you turned sideways after you were straight up? Can you hear us, Streaker? Can you hear us, Streaker?
Rangers just turned them upside down. Yeah, would turn me upside down too.
It's on his side. It's on his side. It's laid out.
Yeah, that's it.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You can hear us, Streaker? For some reason, his audio is not working either. Man, oh man. Turn your volume up on your phone. You're gonna have to turn your volume up on your phone. We can't hear you.
Keita, can you hear us, Keita?
She's dropped out. Streaker, can you hear us? Okay. Your volume on your phone, you have to turn it up because we can't hear you.
Yeah, we got some technical difficulties for sure tonight.
Yeah. All right. Log out and log back in if you can. Just log out and log back in. Okay. All right. Let's quickly finish off those first division scores, gentlemen. In Vasco and Young Men Social Club played to a 2-2 draw at Bernard Park. Quite interesting there. Vasco Social Club took the lead and then were reduced to 10 men, and then Vasco went up 2-1, and they would then come back. Let's see if Coach Keita, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
And we can hear you. Streaker,
Right.
Can you hear us? Rangers are frozen.
Can you hear me?
You can hear us, Streaker?
I can hear you now.
No?
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Great stuff.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome, Mr. Adams. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, obviously, you find yourself in a difficult position. You're playing 180 minutes of football. You haven't had a goal yet. You haven't scored a goal yet, but you conceded 11 goals. As a coach, you got to be worried about, one, leaking so many goals, and two, not being able to score goals. How do you plan to address that and in such a short time, because you have a game on Thursday?
Yeah, we have a bit of work to do between now and then, but that's a short-term goal. I'm looking for the long-term goals. At the moment, yeah, I mean, we was quite leaky last night, but it's stuff that we.
Okay. Maceo?
Is he dropped out?
I don't know if his audio.
Audio's dropped out?
You can hear us?
Yeah.
You can still hear us, Streaker? Is that him?
No, I'm not hearing him.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Stricker. If you're talking, we're not hearing you. Okay. All right. Well, what he said, what we can, I guess, pick up from what he said. With a game coming up on Thursday, there's not much time to work out anything, if he could. Let's see if this is better. Is this better, Stricker?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Yeah. Go ahead, Maceo, if you have a question.
Yeah. Hey, what's happening, Streaker? Long time. So I mean, obviously we know each other well, and the level that you worked at, you worked at. You know, you grew up in North Village, and what you worked around, and the expectation that you have for the game. You know, it's been said that you're growing your hair back now. You know, you're not losing it; you're growing it back. You know, how are you managing this?
Definitely,
your
definitely.
expectation as a winner. You know, how are you versus having this project of moving Rangers on? How are you balancing that?
It's just
We'll have an audio night tonight.
Yeah, by the sounds of it. You know what? Let's see if he can get back in. Let's see if he can get back in. But quickly jumping back to that Vasco Young Man Social Club match, Coach Keita, you had two teams. Obviously, these two teams were in contention last season, playing well. They struggled to start this season, both of them coming into this game off of back-to-back losses. Both of them had lost the match and then ended up with a draw. Okay, final time, Stricker. Can you hear us?
yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, all right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So did you hear Macio's question?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at this point, Maceo is realist girls. It's again.
That turned you upside down again.
Hey, that not enough is put a heart on it.
Put his foot on this.
Yeah.
Everything's struggling.
I will struggle too. Yeah.
Better days are coming, Streaker. Better days are coming. Trust me. Better days are coming. Hey, actually, what you can do, Streaker, is you can still hear us, but we can't hear you. You can call Maceo. You guys can team up again together and see if you can do what you've done in Village.
Yeah.
Maceo, if you got the call, would you go and help your partner?
I would need security, man. The things that I would say to players these days, man, they can't handle the things that me and Streaker would say to them. You know, you would need
I want to cut in on this conversation because there's something I got to say. I got to say. I'll wait till Streaker has to answer that. Go ahead.
Streaker, you're back.
Yeah.
No.
You all can hear me, right?
Okay.
Streaker, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
How you doing, Streaker? How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, there, Punch?
I'm good. And you got you. I see you sweating. You sweating. Is I see sweating beads on you? And it's Streaker. I'm not going to be funny. Anyway, let's get to the gist of all this stuff. First of all, I'm actually Streaker. I know. Why did you take that job? Considering that, I grow in your spirit, but you know, considering what Rangers says about structure, we keep talking about structure in this program. What do you think you're going to achieve this year? What do you think is going to happen? What do you see? What you arrived in? What have you noticed about the team that you're now coaching?
Well, at the moment, we're still trying to get settled. We still got players that, we still have about 7 players that can come in after November 15th. So I give myself to the end of the month to kind of see exactly what I have to work with. From a training standpoint, we got a bit of structure. Like this week, from the Cross Astros game, we had to make about 4 changes. So some guys. I mean, one guy just came in last night, so we're stretched in terms of numbers, but I'm hoping to be sort of balanced out by the end of the month in terms of what the actual formation and things are. So, but taking the job it was always going to be a challenge. Our goal is to kind of pick certain teams and try to get those points. So survival is the main thing. So that's the key. That's the plan that we're looking at, and sort of that's the demand from the players. So it's 9-0 seems like a very large school. Actually, it is a very large school. But there were moments that we can fix. So I'm not too concerned. Our biggest problem is just turning over the ball. You know, I mean, we made 21 passes directly to the opposition last night in the second half. So if you look at that, we were actually playing for them. So we were setting them up to actually score. So that's the first part. So we can fix that, and then I see things changing.
Coach Kiddo, you have any questions?
Good evening, Mr. Adams. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I don't doubt that you're gonna have success and do things you have to do. You share a lot of information with myself with regards to the women's national team and certain little things that you think that I can do better. So I know I was also the physio for you and Maceo. So I do know that you guys you're gonna do what it is that you have to do. My question is, how do you manage not having a junior program or a youth program to pull from? Like, how do you how do you move forward? You have there's no junior program at Rangers, so how are you gonna move forward? Are you just there for the time being, or is there a program, or is there a goal, is there something in place for you moving forward?
They're talking about building an actual program, a youth program. That's not something that I'm a part of in terms of building that program, but I've had conversations with the president and sort of giving them some ideas in terms of what it looks like. They have a few young teams, very young teams that they're looking at. So it's a total building phase. So it's
He's having problems.
He's gonna have some tough. I mean, he's competing with PAC, right? And if you look at the two sides of the spectrum, PAC doing really well, and Rangers, minus 11. There's gonna have to be some real structural development at Rangers in order for them to be a sustainable club. With all those players leaving this summer, heading to other clubs, he's got his work cut out for him. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, and I was there with him and Maceo. It wasn't easy at North Village, even though they had the talent. There were things that they had to do to be Triple Crown champions. It wasn't just, all right, we got the players, we can sit on his side and we're going to win this. I don't think Stricker has that at Rangers at the moment. I really don't know what tools he's working with. I spoke with someone who was at the game last night, and they were like, Rangers just don't have any answer. It's sort of like, God forbid, at Manchester United, like, we can't fire early because we don't have a contingency plan. We don't have anybody. Like, he doesn't have anybody. Where does Stricker go now? He's saying that they know what they have to work on, but are they giving their best? Is that the best that Rangers have to offer right now with the clients that they have? So that's the concern for me for Stricker.
Right. Well, Stricker,
yeah,
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, no, we definitely have our work cut out for us. We have a very, I mean, last night you saw some of the young talent that Robin Hood had, so they're pulling from somewhere. Like you said, Coach Kita, yeah, that's definitely one of our issues. But we have a few young players that are going to come through in these weeks, and I'm hoping that we can kind of fit into the team. But even there is going to be some maturity we're going to have to work with. So the growing pains are definitely ahead of us. So when you see me with Afro,
Okay.
we know that's the end. If you see him with an Afro.
Well, I'm gonna, AR, I'm gonna
Yes.
say this. I want to add to this here too about structured programs. What we keep talking about, Keita, myself, Maceo, and yourself about structured programs. Let's go over the history of the clubs that don't have structured programs, like really the clubs that have history of structured programs getting better and better to lead the country in the next phase of where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Southampton Rangers, go for a bit anyway. Southampton Rangers, let's keep going. Somerset Eagles. Let's keep going on the line. Like Wolves. Let's keep talking about structured programs.
Rangers.
Rangers, again, X-Words. Now, what I asked some of the people down at the game that I was at today is that some of those players at X-Words, I ain't seen, where did they come from in structured programs in the junior level? So what you're doing is you're asking 16-year-olds who come out play, and Maceo made it quite clear about coming out and playing. No, we're coming out to have a kick. See, it just shows that in a small country like we have, if you're not structured right, then I don't know where you're going. I don't know, and this is what you're going to have in the results of not having a structured program, not having people that know what you're going to do next in the next year. So let's go to Boulevard. Let's keep going. Paget. Let's go Rangers. I have to include them in that, and I wish Streaker the best. But you can't tell me that if you Streaker put those 11 players on the field, let's see what the structured program they came through at the junior level. And so we're having a lot of that in our country now, coming through structured junior level programs so when the kid gets 15, 16, 17, he gets in a team, he knows what he's doing. He has all the capabilities, his control, his decision making, his technique. What are we talking about? Island Rangers, we could talk about that, but we're still going to think about the structured programs. And I'm saying Streaker would have a problem with that. He's talking about, he says he's got young players. I want to ask a question. Young players that are playing in where they came from?
He mentioned the young players from Robin Hood and where they came through their program. So yeah, right now he's got players that are from Southampton playing for the club now because as you saw in previous years, a lot of the guys that were playing for Rangers were guys not from Southampton. So when Joma has now left, a lot of those guys have left as well. So
I think Keita asked the right question about the continuation, the continuity plan in terms of the structured junior program. So they're just snatching people, and then guy leaves, and then he comes back to Rangers. Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm playing for Rangers. So and the thing about it is we're asking these questions of people now of the structured programs at clubs, and it's very important to ask these questions.
It's going to be interesting with Streaker at Rangers because he comes from structure. Like even working with Streaker and being a goalkeeper sees the game differently. He structured it from the back. So he taught me a lot of stuff working with him, right? Whereas I saw the game from the front where I can figure out how to get the ball in the goal and score. He figured out how to organize the game. So it'll be interesting to see if the Rangers culture up there responds to a Streaker, or because sometimes a person like Streaker that's been ahead of the time of Bermuda football is now he's speaking Spanish to people. They see what what he's asking of them is, while it's very basic for football, some of the players that don't have that exposure, it would seem like Spanish. It's like, what you mean let's train every day? Or what you mean let's play a 4-4-2, So it'll be interesting to see if his structural influence in the game can wear off on Rangers. I'm more leaning to that. No, Rangers need a cultural shift. They need a cultural shift with 4-year-olds. they're not going to fix anything at the Premier team. Rangers is going back home.
Yeah, and it makes you a very good point you make there. Also, we as a country do not highlight our past players enough, right? Do those players at Rangers even know Dwayne Streaker Adams? Do they even know what he's done? Has that happened, or it's just maybe one or two players that know who Streaker is, so they buy in? Are they even buying into what he's going to try to teach them or show them? Right? At the end of the day, I was at a Village game one time, and a young boy cursed off Gumbo Bean Senior, and I remember Herbie Baskin was at that game. He said, "White, they should make you go paint that man's house. Do you know who you're speaking to?" He didn't know, right? He didn't know who he was. So, do those players at Rangers even know who Dwayne Streaker Adams is? So, are they even going to buy into the philosophy and play for him essentially? Yeah. So that's another thing that we have to look at. They may be just like, this is another person that's just come and try. I know how to play football. Who's this guy? Yeah, because we don't do enough in this country to make sure people know who Dwayne Streaker Adams is, who Punchy Deal is, who Cal Deal is, who Gumbo Bean is. We don't do enough. All right. So when these persons come in, like Clyde Bass, bless his heart, Clyde Bass went to try to coach a team right now. Who's Clyde Bass to these young players? They're gonna see this heavy guy that's calm. Who are you? You understand? So again, we have to make sure that the culture shift includes those types of things, so that these players realize, wait a minute, I'm going to buy into him because he knows what he's talking about. Mickey Wells could come back and coach a team today. He could probably be the worst coach in the world, but they'll listen to everything he says because they know who he is. So
yeah, true. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Paget Lions coach in Don Vickers. We'll be right back.
The use of butter goes back millennia, and its exalted status in the cooking world and in so many kitchens is undeniable. Around 3,000 years ago, ghee, or clarified butter, was developed in India and is the cooking oil of choice in many regions of the subcontinent, and compared to butter has a higher smoke point, reduced dairy solids, and a more robust, nuanced flavor. And to Organic Valley, creators of a certified organic version of this versatile traditional staple. This month we're featuring Organic Valley Ghee Clarified Butter. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back, where we're waiting for Don Vickers to log on. Let's finish up with the two other first division matches. Hamilton Parish ran away with a 6-0 win over the St. Paget Lions. And in the final game, St. David's went down 3-1 to the Boulevard Blazers. When we start talking about Punchy, you're constantly talking about structure, and some of these first division clubs need that right from the start. But I don't think they give themselves enough time. And obviously this time around, there wasn't a lot of time given to prepare for the season. But I don't think they put in enough time prior to the season in that structure. We are now joined by Don Vickers, the coach of Paget Lions. Good evening, Don. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
We can hear you well. Obviously, you've put your hand up to lead this team. It's going to be a daunting task. We were earlier speaking with Streaker. He was having some audio problems, but we were kind of getting the gist of what he was saying. But what as Punchy asked Streaker, what is the aim and the goal for this year for Paget, having just returned back to the league?
Well, it's quite difficult. So, like you said, it is a daunting task, and we're looking to success for us will be having a full season. It's interesting. Paget was in the Premier Division, and at the end of the Premier Division, dropped out of the league. So you think at the pinnacle of their success for a program to drop out of the league, it's quite fascinating. So it's looking at how can we complete the season with the legs and bodies. But at the same time, what we are seeing is fruits of some of the labor that was done from the Paget youth program. So we have about 6 or 7 youth players from when we started the program in 2010 that are now looking to come to the team. So, when we speak about youth development amongst all clubs, I think Paget is important to understand the importance of having youth programs and how it can further influence your teams, your clubs, and Bermuda's football on the hill.
Coach Keita, I'll let you jump in.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Coach Vickers. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is that you're going to do with Paget. I know that you are very much a developmental coach, as well as a coach who's able to coach the situation. So you've done some sessions with me at the women's level, and what I've learned from you in the short time that you've been with us has been amazing. And I know that you are going to give that information to your players. I know that you aren't going to have any issues getting your players to buy into the philosophy that it is that you are trying to play. You do have a mountain to climb, and a team, again, we spoke earlier, a club that doesn't really have a junior or developmental or a structural program. You said you are benefiting from when they had that in the past. Yes. And I know that you understand that this is a process. If it's one person I know who understands it's not a microwave situation, it is a process. And I mean, if they stick with you, then I think that they are going to find that they're going to have the success that's needed, as long as they stay committed and willing to do the work that you're going to ask of them. I want to just encourage you, because it's not going to be easy. This is going to be a season that's going to have a lot of trials and tribulations. But I don't doubt that you will be able to keep your boys together and keep them going. So I really just want to wish you luck. It's not I haven't seen you guys play, so I can't give any tactical or technical answers or advice on anything. But I just know you, and I know that this is going to be a good venture for you and for Paget.
Yeah, I would definitely say sorry, that's my kids. I would definitely say come to the first 30 minutes of the game, definitely. You get to see, what we are trying to do. In all honesty, before, it's been 2 years, and for some it's been more, right? So it was a hiatus of players that left Paget, an exodus, 2 years ago, and so now it's developing those ones who are, I would say, grassroots or diehard Paget players or fans, and picking up youth players as we go. So the approach to Paget's interesting. So I have a project that I can mill any way I want it to be. And as Maceo and I have talked previously in the past about how can we improve football. So one of the things I say to the team all the time is every year a team gets promoted, every year a team gets relegated, but not every year football in Bermuda gets better. And that's the long-term sort of ethos towards how we want to develop football. So it's interesting. We played Island Rangers last week, and it was 2-1 in the first half, and my players cannot run Island Rangers. We have to play through them, all darts, and that's keeping possession and developing poise and maintaining the ball and actually having intentful goal scoring opportunities versus just trying, pumping and running, so it's good in that sense. It's good for about 65 minutes at the moment, Coach Keita. But hopefully as the legs come and it gets better and better, we will see a brand. Really, that's what it's about, a brand of football that will attract fans say, hey, let's go watch Patrick play. They actually play pretty good football, and improve the level of Bermuda's football, which is what it's about.
Andre?
Yeah, good evening, sir. How are you, young man? How are you?
I'm doing good,
I
sir.
wish you the best in what you're trying to achieve at Paget. Again, we're talking about structure because that's what the program is. I think that's what this program was designed to be. I'm very glad that you have taken that position. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
10 years ago, Paget were producing, I think Kenny Burt, the Burts came from up in Paget. Am I right?
Yeah.
Exactly. My point is that, again, we're talking about structure and development. What do you see now in terms of what you're going to try to achieve there? Because I do believe it's going to take you some time. Are you still training down the Woodward School?
Yep. So
Okay.
funny, we are at Top Field. However, because our home field is Rangers, and talking to Streaker earlier, Rangers need someone to beat up on. We need some practice matches.
So can I ask you another question? We're getting back to structure. I'm sorry to cut into your comments, but I'm saying I'm gonna ask you another question because in this program we're trying to. This country needs structure.
Absolutely.
So you're coming from a program from Paget that was has been defunct for a while.
Yes.
And it's going to take some time. I do believe that. So you're achieving. What are you looking for? Like a couple of years? Are you gonna? Because somebody else might try to grab you because you're a pretty good coach. And that. So what are you gonna? What are you gonna try to achieve at Paget in the next 2 years?
Well, the goal, as you said, is what does structure look like. So, for me, I'm a builder. Earl would know, Coach Keita would know, Maceo would know. So women's football, remember Coach Keita, he's in those rooms and he's like, girls football can't start. I say, yes, it can, and we started it. So I'm a builder in that aspect, whereas structure is important. So first and foremost, is developing a strong executive board, which that's vital. So our president is Jamie Ramsey, who is the Jamie Madison jackets and all that stuff. So we have a business mind oriented president. He's young, he's ambitious, but at the same time, it's looking at how do we develop a community in Paget. So when things go well for Paget, everyone's a part of the program. But when things are defunct or we're struggling, there's a love-hate relationship, and I've been a predator, or I've been someone who's taken advantage of it. This is my third stint at Paget. So for me, it's looking at how do we develop a program that has a model as to how it wants to play, a game style, a philosophy, and with that, we develop the back administrative aspect to help the program grow. Part of that is also having a youth program. So 10 years ago, we started a youth program. We're seeing some of the fruits, but it lasted for about 10 years. So no program can succeed without a decent youth program. So I think that's important. That's one of the aspects that we look to do.
Nice.
Now I have a different view on this subject, right? For me, Paget's story has been told. It got told with Kenny Burt. It got told with Rango. The battle players go to PAT, and it's been told many times, and that story and that history is there for us all to see. It's not been sustainable at Paget. Looking at it from a Bermuda standpoint, we have too many clubs. We have too many clubs, and that saturates our good players. And it saturates our good coach. A guy like Don, for me, could do better in a already structured program that we can push some of those good players to a next level versus starting over and over. So, starting over. So in Bermuda, I have an opinion that obviously nobody's not going to like, that I was actually hoping Paget didn't come back into the league. So people like Don go to different clubs, and work at different clubs. I understand the neighborhood piece of it. I understand the cult. I also understand the community piece of it. People want to work in their own community and develop their own community. But there's other ways of doing that. Like I said, because Rango went to play for PAT, Kenny Burt went to play for PAT, and they were great at PAT.
Yep.
They were great at PAT, and they were great individuals.
Yep.
As well as collective. They learned some things outside of their community, outside of their what was comfortable. Took them to another heights. It put them in direct communication and coaching before somebody like Neil Lewis. So that's my opinion about it, about this project. But I have a question directly to Don. Why you, with the qualifications that you have, take these type of fix me up jobs? And they haven't been fixed up. If we're being honest, they haven't been fixed up, right?
Yeah.
You said that this is your third stint there, so it's not been fixed up. I mean, you know our history together. I was headhunting you to come down to North Village at one point in time when I was running the junior program, because I know your work. Keita talks about your work. What attracts you to the fix me up jobs?
I think that's a good point. Why don't I go to big jobs? That's pretty much kind of the same question. It's like I said, right now with pageant, for some reason, it's a love-hate relationship. So there are moments when I can't stand what's going on at pageant, but then there's moments I feel a space where I think that's where I need to come back. Part of it too, Macy, right now in my life, I have 4 young kids and now they're growing up. So this is an opportunity to get back into the space of coaching, and get back into my feet. A few weeks back, last year, a few clubs did approach me, and the expectation was like 4 nights a week. At this point, I can't give that. I'm really realistic. Or 5 nights, 5 days a week. So at this point, it is manageable for me right now. So it's functional. But I talked earlier about us going to Rangers. So we play with Rangers every Thursday night as warm-up games and practice. And they have one portion of the field, and they have a portion of the field. And basically, we've done work with clubs as to how can we amalgamate clubs. And funny thing, I'm training with the Paget guys, and the Rangers guys are walking on the field for practice, and they're like, "Hey, Paget and Rangers should join." And
that's how I see it. Yeah,
I shook my head. Yeah, good point. And to some degree, I think that may be the way forward, perhaps for a pageant. When we think about sustainability, so part of my mind is how can we develop pageant to have value, but also how can we build it to a point where it's an asset to say a Rangers or even a PAC to combine. So I agree. In my opinion, I think the Premier Division League should be 5 or 6 teams, to be quite honest. And other programs foster or feed into these top clubs and move to semi-pro football. I think that's the next evolution of our football in Bermuda. So I do see, why do I not go on to these bigger clubs? I'll be honest, sometimes a little fair. I'm been fired before as a head coach. I'm one of the only coaches in Bermuda been fired. I got fired.
No, I got fired too.
I was coaching. I was coaching Crossroads. We had some success, finishing second, third, and Wolves came. John Barry Wolves said, "Hey, we want you to be our coach." And we was about 6 or 7 midway through, and I was on a coaching coach, Coach Keita, and they gave me a call in January. I said, "Hey, we're getting another direction, coach."
No, hey, I got fired from North Village. I got that same call from North Village. They told me to go in another direction. After I won everything, so the good coaches got fired.
Yeah. But the funny thing about it, the April after that, I took an under-16 national tour team to a tournament and we won it. So Tavon Tiro and other players, and Liam Evans, and so it sort of reinforced that I am a good coach. But that was an experience that I often recall, to get that call, and I'm on a coaching course.
I mean, I thank you for that honesty about it, right? Because, like I said, our relationship goes back a long way, and you can remember when I was headhunting you to come down North Village when I was running the program, because I saw work that you was doing, and the conversation you have about amalgamation of clubs is a conversation that needs to be held if we're gonna have quality. I mean, I used to have that conversation with Lou Matthews when he was the president of Boulevard to amalgamate with North Village. And at first he looked at me like, "Mason, you want me to take you out here? Like something's wrong with you?" But how dare you even ask that question? But the Boulevard players end up coming over to North Village when they don't get it right anyway. So and you like let's formalize these relationships, right? So we can have structure and we can have quality. So I thank you for that feedback, and I put you on the spot purposely with that question, right?
But
So,
Maceo, we
I'm-
go way back, Maceo, from our project we done with the club engagement project, right?
The
And
club
that was
engagement program.
that was a good first step to looking at how we can create a structured island-wide approach to football. And I don't think it's supposed to be called yet, Maceo, but just something to say.
Are you? Excuse me for cutting in on this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Earl.
Yeah.
Are you and Mason talking about borrowing players? They're talking about, say, a player is 17 years old. Say, look, he could go play for Paget for a month or 2 months. Is that what we're talking about?
No,
I was more talking about dismantling Boulevard and
Okay, all right.
and bringing Boulevard's players and executives like a Lou Matthews to help my executive at North Village and amalgamate the players and having less clubs in Bermuda and less teams in Bermuda and have a more quality.
I just want to be clear about that because I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But getting back to Mr. Vickers, I know the program is coming to close now. I do wish you the best. Just like a lot of young coaches, your track record and working. I'm very glad that makes you ask questions. Why you take that job? Why you and I think you're community based. I understand that also. But we have to understand about what we keep this program is about structure, asking the questions, and I'm glad you're on the program. I'm glad because these questions have to be asked and they have to be answered correctly.
Absolutely.
They have to be answered correctly. I think we're on the right path of asking the questions, the solutions. I'm not there yet, but at least the questions are being asked. So I do report you. I wish you the best in what you're trying to achieve at Paget. And again, PhD steals your good players. But there you go. That's how it happens. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I wish you the best, and I applaud you for what you're trying to do for the country. Remember, I always say everybody it's for the country first.
Brother Dunn, before you go, let me ask you this final question. How do you plan to keep these players motivated? Because obviously you said complete a season is one of the most important things for you guys right now. As we know, with people's attitudes, when they start losing, it's easy to walk away. I don't want to be a part of it no more. So what is the plan to ensure that some of these players, or all these players, kind of stay within the program despite good, bad, or indifferent?
It's a good question. So for us, we talk about the process. How do we want to improve football in Bermuda? And guess what? The process may not mean winning right now. And I think sometimes in Bermuda, we get caught on and the media, you guys hype it up. You guys do it. Team lost 3-0, but they probably dominated play, probably played the better football and 2 bad kicks, and it was a goal. Versus how was the quality of the play and the performance, and that's a huge part of, for me, with Patty. It's a moldable project that I could put my stamp as a football coach on to improve the level of football. I always remember going away to California with the under-23 team and playing against USA, Chile, and Australia. There's some top footballers now, and it was a struggle because we could not maintain possession of the ball. And we speak about domestic football at the highest level internationally. We have to produce players that could do so. So starting at Paget is a first step back into more intense coaching, but I think it's something that all coaches need to look at. How do we produce the quality of football that is to a point where we can produce national squad players locally as well that can go into represent Bermuda, but have an idea as to what it means to play under pressure, maintain the ball, and play at a high level. That's going to get us to the next level, not just winning the Premier Division or the First Division, and see the quality is poor. And that's what we are seeing a lot in our local game. Hustle and bustle, but no quality and consistency. So, yeah, so that's level for me.
Well, we want to wish you well for the remainder of the season. We'll probably have you on in the second half of the season to see how things are materializing at Paget. We want to wish you all the best, and your team as well, because obviously, as you've already indicated, we can only get stronger together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, We're going to look at the matches coming up on Wednesday night and Thursday this weekend. Look at our results from our picks from this weekend. We'll be right back. Thank you, Don.
No problem. Thank you.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than the certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Obviously, the match between the Somerset Trojans and the Dandytown Hornets did not take place last night. We want to extend our condolences to the Dandytown family for the passing of one of their players. But looking at, and the association has announced that that particular match will be played on Sunday, on the 14th, as it is the first round of the preliminary round of the FA Cup that will take place. But there are matches scheduled for Wednesday evening and on Thursday, which is the holiday. But let's actually go through the list from this past weekend. So Robin Hood and Southampton Rangers, everyone took Robin Hood. So we were all right in that. North Village and Crossroads, everyone took North Village. St. George's and Devonshire Cougars. The only person to take a draw was Punchy. I picked St. George's. Myself and Nikita picked St. George's, and Maceo picked Cougars. And then Eagles and PHC, everyone took PHC. In the first division, we all took Wolves over Island Rangers, and we know that ended in a draw. We all took Hamilton Parish. Myself, Maceo, and Nikita took Social Club against Vasco, with Punchy, the only one getting it right because he took a draw. And then St. David's and Boulevard, Punchy and Maceo both got it right, taking Boulevard, with Nikita and I taking St. David's. So in the end of the day, Punchy is leading with 7 correct. Maceo has 5, and Nikita and I have 4. But a chance to turn that all around this week, as on Wednesday night, the Dandytown Hornets are expected to host Crossroads at the BAA Field. Coach Keita, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, tricky one, right? Dandytown is going to be playing for emotion, but what I saw today with Crossroads and the amount of emotion that's going to stop Dandytown or allow Crossroads to win that one. Dandytown, anyway, they're going to have a lot to play for in that game.
All right. Maceo?
Yeah, I just want to speak of Jatino Martin, right, for a minute. And again, thank you, condolence for the Dandytown and his family. Tino Martin, Tino and Bob. I started the phrase, no Tino, no Bob, no girls. You know, Dandytown was adapting that. They saw the quality. I mean, he was a player that I favored, and I have high standards as how I rate players. And I can remember Tino winning a under 15 tournament for us in Alabama, and we was coaching him in Alabama. You know, he pretty much single-handedly took that tournament on by the scruff and won it for Bermuda. So it really saddens my heart to see what's happened with Katina. You know, Martin. He is a proper footballer, and he done a lot of stuff to make Danny Ton tick. A lot of stuff to make Danny Ton tick. How he was at one point he was able to play center back. You know, for me, I thought he was more of an attacking type of player. He can control the midfielder. He was an intelligent footballer, and his technical abilities were supreme. You know, it was always a pleasure to watch how he played the game. So it's extremely disappointing and extremely hurtful for somebody like me to see that. You know, so with that said, you know, I know how Danny Tom's going to respond to that, right? That's going to be another ammunition for them as a community, as a club to play. You know, that they're going to easily and handsomely take care of Crossroads. They are.
Punchy?
I agree with Peter and Maceo. This hands down. What I saw today, Crossroads, they have a dilemma. They have a real dilemma. I think what I do know is that I mean, it's on it. Danny Tom is going to beat them convincingly, and they got more purpose to play for, considering that's what happened. Again, my condolences to the family, but it's hands down. And it's not that I wasn't impressed with Danny Tom the first game playing against Cougars, but it's just that what I saw of actually, it's just that they're just like from what they were. Like I said, they're a shadow of themselves like 4 or 5 years ago. So this that thing is Danny Tom all the way with that.
And I'll round it off by taking Dandy Town. Also on Wednesday night, the Somerset Trojans will take on Robin Hood. Macy, I'm going to start with you.
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one to get across the line. You know, I'm gonna call Somerset. I'm gonna take Somerset, man. You know, Jamal's gonna know how to outplay the younger players at Robin Hood. So I'm taking Somerset with that.
Yeah. Punchy?
I'm going with Somerset. I do up, the 9-0 that score with against Southland Rangers. But I'm definitely
the 9-0.
It's just something just have a quality. They're quality. That's all. And then the game is being played. Where Maceo and Earl? Where's the game?
Somerset.
I'm going to Somerset all the way. That's a victory for Somerset.
All right. I've actually taken Somerset as well. Coach Keita?
Yeah, Somerset for sure.
Okay. And then on Thursday, the holiday, Devonshire Cougars will host Somerset Eagles. Punchy?
Devonshire Cougars. Devonshire Cougars.
I think this will be the start of Devonshire Cougars getting themselves kind of things worked out. They will be at home. I think they will be spurred on by their fans. The return of Kwame at home. I think it's time to put things right. So I'm going to take Cougars.
I'm taking Cougars, yeah.
Coach Keita?
Yeah, I'm going with Cougars.
Okay. And Maceo?
I'm gonna take a draw. Devonshire Cougars is not gonna get it right. I mean, for Mark not to be there and the job that I know that he was doing, that leads to internal that points to internal stuff. You know, definitely something internal that's going on because Remark was taking that group last year. You know, that was evident. You know, where he was taking that group and to make a change at the first game of the season, and and Kwame coming in. I mean, I thought Kwame was going to be at Danny Tom's. I thought he was going to come back at Danny Tom's. So to make that change, and like I said, there's internal stuff going on, and Cougars can't operate with internal stuff going on. You know, they needed to be perfect.
Right.
And nobody really can, right? So it's not just highlighting Cougars. So they're not gonna adjust to that internal stuff quick enough for me. And for me, I'm gonna take a draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next match is St. George's Colts will host Southampton Rangers. I've already put down St. George's. No surprise to anyone. Coach Keita?
Yes, going with my brother on this one. St. George's.
So hold on a sec. Let's back up here. Patches is on the bench for St. George's now.
You didn't know that?
No,
you knew that.
No, Punchy mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
I thought he was referring to North Village.
But he didn't.
No.
He wore black Donny Park. He probably wore blue and blue today, but he wore black Donny Park last week, mate. He didn't wear blue and blue.
Hold on, it's amazing the power of a woman, man.
I agree. Hey, I agree.
It's amazing the power of a woman. I have high respect for women. I have high respect for women.
She took us to George's. Now that's where he is. So that's what he's doing. And I'm grateful.
I have respect and appreciation for women. I know they're very, very powerful.
Your brother's on your hair, so that's all right. Now, my prediction about this, let's get back to this game. Now, what I saw, again, the result, even though they got a 2-2 draw today, I think the 2-2, right, against
Cougars.
Cougars, okay, all right.
Yes.
You could see the structure. I have applauded my nephew. He's going to help. I think he will add much more substance to what they're trying to achieve there. I still think that I think it's Mr. Hayward. Jerron Hayward?
Jerron.
I think it's still a learning process for him. But I'm glad that Patches, talking to his sister and then learn what is in. Because I have a real thing about Mr. George's. I think I just really, even though they lost 3-1, I think with maybe some good fine finishing, that score could have been different. So I do see what they're trying to achieve. So I'm going with St. George's.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to because Macy never picked.
Yeah. St. George's will get their first victory for sure this week. This will be a platform for them, and it's a good challenge. I mean, and being fair football minded, this is a good challenge for Patches, right? To be outside the comfort of North Village, and you're going to learn different things, right? You get a bit spoiled at North Village with the players that were hung out over the years, right? And the support that were here. So this will be a good challenge.
They also got Carl Roberts as their tackle for their
But sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they got a good team of people.
That's a good team of people. Yep.
Yes, good team of people.
Make sure I behave when I was in Spain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the final match of the on Thursday is North Village are at home to Devonshire Colts. And I'll start with you, Maceo.
Yeah, North Village is going to put pay to Devonshire Colts, man. That's just historical. We always want to. North Village always wants to show Devonshire Colts you can't play football like me.
Oh boy, Bunchy?
I don't know about this. I'm part of it. Listen, I can't put my finger on it, but it's still something missing from what I saw today. And Kenny asked Kenny questions. Even though Devonshire Colts are not where they are, but they still come down and do something. North Village. North Village is still a growing. It's just a growing club again. So for this one here, it's kind of tricky for me. Trust me, it's tricky for me. Devonshire Colts will not come down to the field and play because it's like a derby for them. Yeah. So I'm going for draw.
Okay. All right. I'm actually going to take North Village. I think them taking their foot off the pedal today won't be allowed to happen this time around because I know that rivalry that the two clubs have, and I just think right now, if anybody was there the first 10, 15 minutes and how North Village knocked the ball around, and I don't think they got tired or anything. I just thought that they thought it was going to come easy, so they kind of took their foot off the pedal, but I don't think it'll be allowed to happen next time around. Coach Keita?
I got to go with Uncle Ponji. Really, like watching today, I'm not overly convinced. I can't really go off of history and the past. Colts have some pretty exciting young players as well, and they will have had a long rest. So I don't think if North Village, it's going to be like squeaky. It's not going to be a convincing victory, but I will go with North Village. My heart tells me to.
Never think of football with your heart. That's a number.
My heart tells me to. I have to admit this to him, Mace.
It will be
It
broken.
might get broken. It might get broken.
Well, guys, we'll be back next week, Sunday, obviously, with the results from the preliminary round of the FA and these matches on Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Denby Town Somerset match, which will take place on Sunday as well. So next week, we'll be back here at 5 p.m. for another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Enjoy your night.
Cool, guys.
Cool, guys.